So hello everyone, I'm Rob Berline. I'm with Simco. Thank you for joining us for this presentation about the new products that Biamp has rolled out. Some of you saw them in InfoComm this summer. And we have Terrence McCarran and Vinny Veneziel here to explain how they can be integrated into your space. This session will be recorded and materials will be sent out following the webinar. We're going to have time for Q&A at the end, so submit your questions. We'll have about 5-10 minutes. Anything we don't get to, we'll respond in email. And so without further ado, here's Terrence.
Everybody, thank you so much for having us today. Also, we've got Vinny here. We're really happy to introduce all the new Biamp updates. There is a lot of updates to share today, so we're going to talk fast and quick and get through as much as we can to make sure that we share all this important information for you, with you, excuse me. And as Rob had said, please throw any questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get you all answered at the end. Is everybody seeing my screen there? Okay.
I don't see a share yet, Terrence.
Oh, it's kind of important here, huh? Go here and go share. Are we seeing this screen there?
Yes, I think you're good.
All right, cool. Well, let's get into it. So again, thank you everybody for having us. We are, here we go. This is your Simco team here. So Vinny and I are your field sales engineers. And then of course we've got Sam, Sharon, Patrick, Jim, Cheryl, all regional sales managers all the way from Maine down to Virginia. And then of course we've got Maggie Broussard and Greg Castelli, our inside sales account managers, who also are fantastic teammates that help us out. So please don't be bashful. Reach out to these folks and us as you need us. Also, just want to make sure that you all know that we have some important Simco technology showcases coming up, so you can see this technology in person on the East Coast without having to go to Vegas for InfoComm. So we'll be in Boston October 27th and in New York October 29th, and we sure hope to see you there. We're really excited to talk about the Devio UCX. It's an Android-based compute and DSP all-in-one that we built in conjunction, Biamp built in conjunction with Microsoft, using MDEP. So Androids, they've had their pros and cons historically, right? There's no Windows domain, so it's not there's no updates to worry about that in policies. Less IT management. They're simpler and less disruptive. There's less moving parts and pieces, right? They're an appliance. They behave as one, but they had their shortcomings too. There were some security gaps in the Android upgrades and things like that. So it wasn't always a home run to put an Android in place. Well, Microsoft with MDEP, the device ecosystem platform, that's a true partnership that we've built this new platform. So that means that this isn't a flash in the pan. We're not going to be saying, hey, you remember in 2026 when Biamp had a UC Compute and DSP in one. This means that we're getting support from Microsoft right from the get-go and for the lifetime of the product. So as we mentioned before, it's a compute and DSP in one single box. And so this is the example of the UCX 2000, for instance, here, right? So again, built with MDEP, and it's meant to be flexible. We see all sorts of HDMI connections, right? Inputs and outputs, all these USB connections. We have analog in and out, so whether it's assisted listening or you've got an external source, and then we have a PoE plus switch built in there as well. Right out of the box, it's natively MTR, right? It's Microsoft Teams, and then in October you can have the option of doing Zoom or Teams, and it'll be just one SKU. You order the UCX, and you choose that platform as you start configuring the room. Now there are going to be there are three models, right? The UCX 1000, the 2000, and the 3000. And this is kind of a gentle guide here. It says, all right, well, if you got a small huddle room at 1000, it makes sense here. Connect a conferencing bar to it, and away you go. You want to now add maybe a microphone and speakers in addition to our bars, right? Our VBC 2800 or 2500. Now we have, for the first time ever, the ability to mix and match extra mics and speakers so that you have even fuller room coverage. And then certainly with the 3000, we can do much more, right? There's a dual display output. All the AI features that MTR and Zoom are using are available through that. And then certainly, it's got 4 times the processing power, so that we're future-proofing it for later releases. And here's what these devices look like, right? So on the left we have the 1000. And again, you connect your bar right to the compute itself, right? The USB connection. And what's cool about that is then you don't necessarily, well, you don't need a power supply for the VBC because it'll be powered directly connected to the compute. We get into the 2000, and now they add an HDMI input. So if you want to do local sharing, you could do HDMI input sharing, and we'll talk more about sharing in just a moment. But now again with the 2000, we see all these extra ports here, right? So you have extra ports. So we have the ability to now add those mics and speakers like we were talking about earlier. And then of course the 3000 looks very similar to the 2000, but you see here we've got the dual display output here so that you can have that. And then certainly there's more under the hood like we talked about, like Copilot transcription, Zoom voice control, and things like that. All right, so this should be a form factor that looks very familiar to you, whether it looks like the Tesira Forte X platform, the Devio platform, right? So what we see here, it's the small format, and it does have the cable tray that is shipped with it, so you have the option to use that or not for strain relief and things like that. Also, in a further update, there's going to be the option to use Workplace Tools app and use NFC so you can get pertinent information like, network settings, like IP addresses and things like that. So it's a very useful update coming around the corner. Now we have, with this release, the Primo Touch 10 UCXT. So this is a panel made specifically for this platform. It's a nice clean look, has rubberized bottoms, so you can have that on a table and not have it slide around. Now, what's also really cool to talk about is it has the a connection for USB-C. So now you can connect right to that connection and present, but also gives you the ability to do BYOM. So we already talked about how the mics and speakers and the computer are all there. Well, you make that connection, and now you can go ahead and change platforms. So maybe you don't have a Teams call and it's a different platform. Go ahead and make it a BYOM room and use all the freshly tuned Biamp gear to make your call. Now there are options for mounting, whether you want to do wall mount or maybe put it on a table and not have it move around the table, but maybe have that swivel option, right? So you have that table mount accessory. Obviously, if you do the wall mount, they're going to assume that you're not going to go ahead and attach your laptop to it. So then at that point, you'll connect directly to the hub itself. And then certainly we have glass options with the surface mount. Includes the frosted glass sticker on the back so that it's a nice clean look. And then we also have the ability to mount it to walls. So now you have options when we're talking about presenting and sharing, right? You can do it wirelessly or wired. And it's also worth mentioning while we're talking about wireless in general. Of course, that hardwiring a compute to the network makes all the sense in the world. But if you have really good wireless signal and you have that need, both the panel and the hub can be operated wirelessly. So again, make sure that your coverage is good, but that is a flexible option for you to have. So we have mics, amps, and specifically for this platform. So these should look pretty similar. These are our Parlay mics and our amps, and they look a lot like our Tesira options, but they are different. So be mindful as you're speccing and ordering these that you get the Devio table mics or Devio ceiling mics or the Devio amps. Made specifically for this. The reason being is we've actually moved some of the processing into these devices so that we can do more with our whole ecosystem. If you're not familiar with Biamp Launch, it's the ability to press a button and have Biamp listen to the room, listen to the noise floor, listen to the reverb, and listen to how it responds to the speakers in the room, in the environment, and then it tunes the room for you using AI noise reduction so that anything that is not intelligible speech is removed from the equation. Clicking of pens, tapping on the keyboard, bags of chips, things like that, things that don't need to be heard, right? And then it also uses de-reverberation, so it's nice, clean, dry sound, and you can hear people intelligently. Now, anytime that you take out noise and reverb out of the equation, you get much cleaner audio, of course. And Biamp Launch works with all these speakers you see here, whether it's the 3 flavors of the CIC6, whether it's TAA or low profile. We have pendant mics, pendant speakers, excuse me, and then certainly all sorts of wall mount options for you. So again, we're talking about different ways you can build the room. You know, if you got the hub in a 1000, comes with the UCX touch panel, right? Put a bar on it and you're good to go. You want more mics and speakers, use the bar and add table or ceiling mics, right? And then more options with the 3000 as well to add cameras. Let's think about this in efficiency, in points of failure, power cables, um, ease of installation, ease of understanding what we're doing here. On the left is our new Devio UCX platform, right? So obviously you need to connect it to power, and you want to connect it to the outside world, so it's got a CAT cable there and an HDMI to your display. Now, our apprentices can run a CAT cable in the field and get that terminated. So if you think about it, not only are we getting a touch panel, but we're getting HDMI extension, BYOD, BYOM, through that one cable. It's reliable, it's less points of failure. You're not worried about jamming a USB extender anywhere and its power adapters, things like that, right? And then you can connect a USB cable right to the panel and do BYOM and BYOD. Now, you want to expand that room, you run another CAT cable from the hub to a ceiling or table, and now you have the option for more mics and more speakers, right? We want to do that with some of our competitors, you know, and they make some decent products, but where are you putting all this stuff, right? It's awfully busy here. There's all these points of failure. You jam this stuff behind a bar, behind a display. How is that going to be serviceable? It's going to be difficult to service. You putting all that stuff somewhere. And there's, again, all these points of failures. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4 power cords as well. So what we do with one power cord, they do with many, and boy, it's a challenge to hide all that stuff in a a positive manner. So it takes about 10 minutes once you've got it all connected to have the room configured and tuned, right? So I've been thinking of doing a little contest to see if we can name this little robot here, but this little Biamp robot will walk you through it, and it's as simple as picking your language and your country, and then pairing the panel and setting your time zone. If there are any extra mic speakers, bars, things like that. They'll say, "Hey, are we using Zoom or Teams?" And let us know what the credentials are. Excuse me. And then what's really cool too is if you've already got a display connected to it, it actually gives you a visual representation of Biamp Launch as it tunes the room. So it listens to the room, and again, like we talked about that earlier, and you can see that, which is pretty cool. So in under 10 minutes, you've got a fully configured room. It's important to note that it's in Workplace. So if you're not familiar with Workplace, this is where Biamp is opening up our ecosystem so that you have the ability to manage, monitor, maintain the Biamp ecosystem. And that includes, of course, the Devio UCX. So our Workplace conference room designer is in there, and you'll see that UCX is in there, so you can get a nice way of seeing how this actually is going to fit into the room using real world measurements and the requirements that you need, right? But then also because it's in Workplace, you can monitor the status. Hey, wouldn't it be nice if every Sunday night at 9 p.m. you ran Biamp Launch, so Monday morning it's a freshly tuned room ready to go? Or perhaps you get a notification, a network switch is down and this peripheral's being reported as missing. You know about it proactively before the client even tries to use the room, and perhaps already resolved it before anyone even knows. So a lot of huge values with those there. And just really quickly, it's these things are shipping soon, and even this month, right? So and more to come as we go forward. Here's the microphones and amps, right? And then we're going to be doing them with bundles so that you have the opportunity to see some savings with making sure that you're including all the parts and pieces you want to do. And then of
We're
course,
doing
put many of your mics on. And then of course you've got the VIDI 280 as well that can be attached to it. So common questions. Touch panel included? Yes, absolutely. And you can pick wall mount or tabletop, things like that. Is it hard to deploy? No, not at all. Again, 10 minutes or less, and it prompts you through everything. Yes, it'll be available on Workplace, and for you AV folks that just like me, I didn't really know what MDEP was right out the gate, but when you get objections from your clients saying security risks and this, that, and the other thing, you tell them about MDEP, and this is going to help you overcome a lot of those objections. IT guys will their eyes will light up when they see this here. All right, so now I want to talk to you about our newest offering, or one of our newest offerings, excuse me. We have a whole bunch of new offerings, right? This is our BMA 360D. So this is our ceiling tile microphone. Now you may recognize this from its former life with Clear One. Biamp bought the intellectual property, and then they let the engineers pop open the hood and start adding flux capacitors and turbocharging this and that and the other thing. And I'm using broad terms here. I don't think there's an exact flux capacitor, great Scott. But you know what I'm saying here. We're doing more with this now. So the D stands for Dante. God forbid you're not using one of our DSPs. This still plays well with others as long as it's Dante enabled, right? So you run that one cat cable up into the ceiling, and you're getting 12 beams of configurable audio. Or you could do the auto mix out and send that back in. So you have options there, right? But not only that, it actually has an amplifier built into it. So if you are powering that cat connection with the PoE++, whether it's a switch or one of our injectors, you can get 4 channels at 15 watts or bridge them so you have 2x30. So if you think about it, that one field cable that you're running, you're getting a lot of audio for less effort. And if you haven't seen these, of course, they fit the 2x2, 2 foot by 2 foot typical square ceiling footprint, right? So what's also cool is, again, Biamp's let the engineers in and start tweaking and adding and doing more. They've actually included a block in the processing library, so you can integrate it that much easier and configure it that much easier, right? So less jumping around software, less jumping around and making it just easier for you to use, right? Including, you know, the logic, which can hang a lot of people up. So the LED state is controlled from the single logic node, very important for those people who know. Anybody who's commissioned a room probably has had 10 pieces of software open at the same time, and boy, can that get confusing. What's really cool is Biamp's made it so that this the BMA 360D actually acts like a parlay mic or a Tesira expander, right? It's seen, it comes in, and also it'll actually make your Dante cross points for you, so you don't need to jump around platforms. It'll do that all for you. Oh, so we already talked about that there. All right. So what's really cool too is, you know, there's nothing worse than working on a microphone and only to find out you've been working on the wrong one. So they've got locate modes so that you know you're working on the correct microphone and you're talking to A or B or C or what have you, right? And also they've updated the configuration software to work very much like you're used to, but also better. They're doing more, you know, again, release under the hood and letting Sarah handle the AEC, for instance, things like that. So if you're already used to the older configuration software, it still has those same themes and it should be an easy crossover for you. And then of course it's in Biamp Workplace. So this is great. Again, maybe you have a switch that's down or what have you. You can get notifications so that you know about it before it's even an issue, right? And again, so not only is it in Workplace for the monitoring, maintaining, and management, but it's also in our Workplace designers. So you can see how it's actually going to work in a room, and you can get a visual representation and kind of do, you know, some maneuvering. Oh, geez, you know, maybe I should put 2 microphones in this room or what have you. You can mock it up and see it and get some hard data out of that. Now we have options for you. If you want to do custom colors, there's an article in our support website called Cornerstone where you can take a white ceiling tile mic, our BMA 360D, and it'll tell you how to take it apart so you can do a custom paint job. So it can be that Ferrari red or whatever color you want to do, right? But also now we have the ability, we have the offering of a black ceiling tile microphone, so no customization needed. We have white and black right out of the box. If you're working in Chicago or you have some very heavy plenum requirements, there is actually a back box for that so that it can meet those requirements. And then if you're working overseas or in other countries and they're using metric, there are certainly adapters for those grids as well. And right out of the box, they are Zoom or Teams certified, so it overcomes that objection with a lot of folks right out of the gate, and end users are happy to see that, right? And they're available now. They're shipping, you know, and they're available in bundles. And there's all sorts, you know, again, there's some accessories there. So ready to go and deploy right away. Let's get into Biamp Workplace. I should have probably mentioned Workplace 30 or 40 times by now. I'm sure you've heard me say it. And if you're not familiar, again, this is where we're opening up all our ecosystems and devices so that you can do more with it, right? So we're talking managing the life cycle, designing, deploying, managing, firmware updates, troubleshooting, grabbing logs, service. I could go on, and I'm going to. But there's a lot we can do here. Also, what's really cool now is something called My Workplace. So as you're working in this Biamp Workplace ecosystem, and you're an integrator or maybe an end user IT team or what have you, right? You can work within Workplace and share designs and configurations and ecosystems. But maybe you want to mock some things up and try things yourself and do some designs and wait until you're ready to share with the group. Well, that's where My Workplace comes into play here, right? Because that's your personal sandbox that you can do all that. And then certainly you've come up with something that you really like and you want to share. You have the ability to do that right from there as well. So as integrators, we sometimes we just get stuck on, all right, design, install, done, right? But now with Workplace, we're able to do much more with that: deploy, use, manage, optimize, make sure that this ecosystem that we're installing is aces from start to finish, right? So you have the options of, you got Workplace Admin where you can see everything in there. And then of course we have all these other applications. We've got Designer that we've been talking about a little bit. We've got Command. Command's really cool. You can affect an ecosystem without rolling a truck. So, maybe you get a service call and, hey, I can't hear the microphone in conference room 3. Well, oh boy, all my service techs are at this other job and you're so far away, but I really want to take care of you. You log into Workplace, get into Command. Oh, you know what? Channel 1's been muted. Let me unmute that for you. You're good to go. Okay. You have a happy client. You did a service call without even rolling a truck. Workplace got its start with Biamp through our Evoco booking platform. With that platform, we were seeing that we had the ability to see all our devices and work with them. So of course we do booking very well with Workplace. Excuse me. And then certainly we're doing designing and commissioning as well. So if you haven't used Workplace, you'll see, if you're familiar with Workplace, excuse me, you'll see that the layouts being improved, right? So it's getting more fluid to use. And then the notification center, this is really cool. So you can see all your alerts and notifications on one page. Easy to find, but then also you can even set it up so that service at thisintegrator.com or thisenduser.com can get a notification as they come in real time, so you don't have to necessarily monitor a page if that's how you want to do it. Also, there's nothing worse than jumping around all these different platforms and screens and softwares to do things, right? So we're making it easier. So within Workplace, you can see there's an AI agent and you can get questions answered without having to jump around as much. Makes sense. We need to have these devices navigable, right? We need to find them in some way that makes sense, and doing it by location makes all the sense in the world. What's the name of the client? What's the site? What city are they on? What building is it in? The floors, the sections, the rooms, the spaces. And yeah, sometimes that's a lot of tedium. Location Builder makes that a lot easier for you to navigate that and create all that structure. And certainly users, right? As you were doing booking with Biamp Workplace, adding one user at a time will be very tedious. So with the CSV file, we could do bulk uploads and get multiple people in all at the same time. Now, you as integrators or end users want to use Workplace, and by the way, it's free. Please reach out to us if you're having any questions or whatever. We're happy, anyone on the Simco team, to help you get Workplace set up for you. It makes all the sense in the world. It costs nothing to do. So again, all these design options and more, super valuable. And we make it easy for you too. It'll recognize your work email and let you do it that way, so you're not jumping around and doing all these extra things, so you have that single sign-on. Some common objections with Workplace: I don't know if I want all my DSPs on the network, right, facing the outside world. Okay, it makes sense with certainly some applications. So this Workplace Bridge, the device that we see here, actually allows us to talk to many DSPs, but have that one device reach the outside world. And then also another very crucial trait that it has is it will actually allow us to work with legacy Tesira gear so that it can also be available on Workplace. Workplace Designer. So our conference room designer is this great tool that was on support.biamp.com. And people who are well versed in designing conference rooms and conferencing spaces still would use this to keep themselves honest. And well, anyway, the team that put this together actually is the team that put it in Workplace Designer. So if you've used it before, you'll see some very common themes and flows, and it should be very easy for you to jump into it. But of course, it's been updated so that it can do more, including our bars and our, like we just talked about, the Devio UCX and things like that. At the end of the day, what's really cool too is it pumps out a document that you can use with both your install team and your end users. Right, so your end users can see what you're planning to do in the room, and then your installers can say, okay, well, I need to run cable here, here, and here, install the mics, install the speakers, and they know where to go. Of course, we mentioned workplace booking, right? So that's where Workplace kind of got its start from. It works with Microsoft Outlook Calendar and the Google Calendar, but sometimes you need that ability to be agnostic, so you can use the calendar system that's based right in Workplace and not have to use those other calendar systems. So you could do, again, you can get into Outlook and book a room, or you could go ahead and go to the browser, the website, or use the app for iOS or Android and book that way. Workplace tools. This is we talked about this earlier with one of the features is using NFC to see what the gear's information is going to be, and we're doing more with Workplace tools that, again, you're not jumping around in all these different pieces of software. So we're moving more and more towards that there. That status page, right, as you log into Workplace, that's where you can see the real-time status of everything that you've got in your ecosystem. And this is something that, maybe end users, IT admin team, or your service team, you can have that URL and just share that. And again, you can automate those notifications that we talked about earlier so that, they get emailed right away, so you're not worried about looking at a screen. Workplace, a lot of this is done through licensing, and that could be challenging, on the sales side of things. It could be challenging on the service side of things, and just keeping things moving, right? Some people say, I don't want to deal with this licensing stuff. I just want it one and done, and I know it works, and I'm good. Well, we have now perpetual license, so it lives that license for the life of that piece of gear. Also, if that's not how people want to navigate that, there's 1, 3, or 5 years, of course, but then also subscriptions, so that hey, we had this room installed in February, and every February, 3 years in February, it renews, but the one down the hall was installed in October, and now you're navigating all these different dates that you've got to worry about. So now we have Workplace subscriptions, makes it easier for you, so that just takes care of it for you, and you don't have to worry about it. It's one less thing to think about. And this is an example of the pricing here. Our sales team is great. If you don't already have the updated price sheet from us, just let us know, and we'll make sure you have it. But more than likely, knowing our folks, you like to think you do have it. This is something we're really excited about. Biamp has come out swinging on control. We're really doing it right now. It's something we're really excited to talk about. All too often we think about control. You press a button to turn volume up, you turn the display on, turn a mic on, right? But we also think there's all these other things in the background, right? If you've got an occupancy sensor, that's all triggering macros based off of the state of the device, right? It sees that there's activity, drop the shades, turn the lights on, turn on the display, right? There's been no activity in the room, do the opposite. So there's more going on than just buttons. Sound like a broken record. I've talked about Workplace a lot today. As I said, we're opening up everything towards it. Well, it only makes sense to have control be involved with Workplace. So realize that the Tesira Forte X platform was really strong, and we could do a lot more with it. So it is now our first Workplace control processor. So a lot of people already have Tesira Forte X's out in the wild, whether it's the 400, 800, or 1600. Make sure it's on the current firmware, and you can start messing around with control and seeing what this looks like. Biamp's very close to the vest with forecasting, but they did share with us that they plan on taking a look at updating the Impera Tango, the Volterra, and the Devio UCX as options for control processors. So we're excited about this already, but more to come. So stay tuned about that, right? We already have touch panel options in 4, 7, and 10 inch that work with the previous control offering, but now also with Workplace Control. The 4-inch is the only one that lives strictly in-wall. The 7 or 10 you can do in-wall or tabletop. And again, Biamp keeps things close to the vest. They have let us know that they are updating and doing more panel options in the future. Now this is hosted on your DSP, right? So it's as simple as dragging blocks from your configuration and putting them into your control platform, right? Into your canvas. And not only does it control Biamp DSP, but it works well with third-party devices as well. So of course we didn't install the lights and shades, but when we did that conference room, we need to control it. It gives you that option to do that and more, right? If you're familiar with scripting, this should excite you. Now we're able to do scripting through Lua, through the Lua language. Take an API, run it through something like Claude AI, say, hey, this is the Lua format we're using, create me a driver. So now we're not as necessarily beholden to a library of drivers because APIs are out there and we can make our own to make sure that it works as we go. Also, Biamp does have the Impera offering, right? So that Impera offering does include a whole slew of drivers. What's really cool is, number one, they're available too. You can drag them right into Biamp Workplace Control, and it'll actually convert it to a Lua driver that Biamp Workplace Control will understand. The ConnectX MP6, this is a really cool device. You can power it through PoE. It's about roughly 2.5 to 3 inches by 2.5 to 3 inches by roughly a 1/2 inch thick. And through that one cat cable, you can have two-way serial, one-way serial, IR, GPIO, and you can have multiple of these so that you can control devices through hard connections. Also worth mentioning that it will be playing well with global cache as well. So if you've got other interfaces that we're working towards that. This screen here is a little blurry, I apologize, but I wanted to blow up so you kind of see what Workplace Control can look like here. So to the hard right here, we see all these options for customizing the canvas, the screen, right? The background, and you can do custom pictures, right? I used to work for an integrator that had a client that had to have the logo on the top left corner. And that logo you could access a service page, right? So that only experienced users could handle that or could access that. Excuse me. We could do page flips on here. We can do pin codes to lock out the device and make sure only the right people are in there. So we can make the graphical side as easy or as complicated as you want to make it. If you want to make it easy and just drag in some pre-configured things that look nice and clean, you can do that. If you want to go ahead and tweak it so that the faders are hot pink, so be it. You have some flexibility here. Now to the left here, again, I apologize, it's pretty blurry here, but we talked about control, right? And control's more than just pressing the button to do the thing. There's states that are monitored that trigger other things, And here you kind of see a little bit behind the scenes of what's actually going on. And, when this device is doing this, do this, and make sure it's connected that way. And then finally on the left-hand side, we see, hey, it's living in a DSP, and these are some of the blocks that it may or may not be using in this configuration here. So Workplace Control Designer, it's available right through Workplace. It's in the apps, and I love how they Biamp broke it up. There's Basic Bob, Moderate Mary, and Premium Pierre. So whether you're a simpler user or programmer, or you want to get really down and dirty, you have the options and flexibility to do a whole heck of a lot here. And so I mentioned Canvas. Canvas is our offering that we had that you could have a graphical interface, but also Canvas is a broad term meaning a space where we have things located. So forgive me for using that word twice in that meaning. But we as we see here, we're combining all the great features that we've had into Workplace Control. And again, if you have a Tesira Forte X, get it up to date on firmware, and you can start messing around with it right off the bat. Let's talk about BYOM. So this is our MPX 250. It's about a 2.5-inch hole, if I recall correctly, and you can install this in and connect it to your system. There's call it a brain. There's a device that everything connects to, and so you have your USB-C at the table, and you hook it up to your laptop, your phone, or your tablet, and it'll start charging right off the bat. You want to present, you press the button, and you can present from your connection. But then let's say you've got it's an MTR room, and you've got all the major players in the room, and the next call is not an MTR call. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to leave the room and go run around? No. Press the button, run the meeting from your laptop on a different UC platform, and you're good to go. Now we can install up to four of these in one system, so up to 16 users can have that functionality. Now here's a little example of what that may look like underneath the table, right? Now USB does have constraints. You can only do so many hops. We have this design validation tool, which is great. You can say, hey, this is what I'm thinking here. And it'll say, hey, you know what, that looks great, but no, you need to tweak this and you've got too many hops. So this is really nice to kind of keep us honest, because even the best of us can lose track of USB hub counts, right? Also, there's on the Biamp head unit, or the UCX, my gosh, the MPX 250 head unit, there is a network port. So we've actually opened up SSH control. How cool would it be as soon as it sees that there's been a PC connected? Again, it drops the shades, turns on the lights, turns on the display, and you never even touched the button. All you did is hook up your laptop. And then it saw that there was no activity for 20 minutes and then did the reverse. Actually, I have an integrator who went kind of custom with this and ended up not installing it on a table, and did this in a rack to do some custom switching of themselves there. So again, BYOM gives you all the ability there. So on the left-hand side, we're talking about the DC expansion kit. So DC stands for daisy chain. So you want to add up to 4 of those MPX 250s. It gives you the ability to do that. If you wanted to extend this, sometimes the display is not right on top of the table. So makes sense. You may want to, run it through a floor core and have that connection behind a display. So we have a Kevlar reinforced cable. You can pull it securely through floor core and have it, have that ability. And then what's really cool is we have this new cable retractor. So it works very much like those old school vacuum cleaners from when we were kids, where you pull on the cord and it goes back in. It ships out of the box with out of the gate with a cable bag that each cable has its own compartment and is weighted. But sometimes cable bags aren't the right solution. So this is a nice flexibility that we have now. So all this is available. Make sure that the firmware is up to date and ready to go, and we can do this now. So yeah, please reach out. Now again, Biamp Workplace got its start from scheduling, and we have some updates to consider here. So there's the LISO, the NASO, and the Clio. Those are the 3 major components of our scheduling, at least the physical interfaces, right? And the LISO is a on-prem solution, means that you need to have a server running software so you can navigate it, and it works great. Especially some clients had certain parameters we needed to navigate. Well, if you wanted to go cloud-based, previously it meant getting rid of the LISOs and installing NASOs. And that could be a tough conversation, especially if you already have that ecosystem. So now we can migrate LISO towards the cloud, towards Workplace, so that you can remove the on-prem server and have that functionality that the NASO had previously been the only way to offer that. I will say that if you do update to go this method, you can't go back to the on-prem with those panels anymore. Once you go to the cloud, it is what it is. But this opens up much more conversations with people who already have that ecosystem. And then the Clio. The Clio is a great desk booking panel, right? Good for hoteling and things like that. Well, now it's actually added as a device in Zoom Workplace reservations. So people that are very Zoom heavy and use that platform, it's even easier for them to number one, commission it, but also for your users to actually use the the booking panel. Workplace also offers some wayfinding through that same scheduling platform, right? So whether you want to do some room tiles, tells you, okay, the study's over in this way, and it's actually going to be booked in 10 minutes, so maybe not that room, or hey, the other study's booked and it's down that way, or this one's open and it's over this way. Right, so you get all that availability, or that information available. But then also you could navigate a different way. Maybe you want to do just a floor plan and then show the room's availability that way. So you can have that offering, and it's just it's a web URL that a display has to navigate to do, right? So also, if you're on the admin side, you can navigate and say, oh, you know what, that room is showing a red error. There must be something up. So you can use that to see what's going on and monitor your ecosystem. And again, all this is shipping now, and the Clio firmware of the Zoom is this month. If it's not already going, it should be momentarily, right? We won an award at InfoComm for our Parlay presenter and participant lift. So our Parlay mics are really potent. We keep getting all these calls like, would like to be able to not have to use a handheld microphone or a lavalier mic and still have someone present, or have a room heard across, have a user heard across a room, right? So now we're able to do more with our Parlay mics than we have been able to before, and not have to use those handheld options. If you think about it, you have to have your IT or your AV team in and make sure it's charged, and that it's not ruffling up against your necktie or your collar, and hey, where do I put the battery pack, and this, that, and the other thing, and hey, the phone's missing on this one, what have you. Get rid of all those. Now we have Parlay presenter or participant lift, right? So you can hear a conversation level across the room. Now, presenter lift, what's really cool is you can actually, sorry, I'm jumping screens here. You can actually set it so that it's on one certain area, like a stage, right? So that the beams are locked directly to that area, and they can be heard. So again, we're not using any handheld stuff. There's this new block called the frequency shift feedback suppressor block. That's a mouthful, but it's really super potent, so that you're not getting that squealing feedback when you're using the system. That's a new feature if you haven't played around with that and you're already familiar with Tesira custom configurations. Now, the Parlay beam locking, this is what allows us to do what we hadn't been able to do before. So now, instead of having it cover the complete 360 circle, right, we can say, point them in these spots here using this elevation and this angle. And hey, maybe I need to disable one in this one location here, or what have you. Now you've got the ability to do that and lock the beams at a specific target and not pick up things you don't want to do. But what's also really cool is you could do this all through presets. So maybe, you have it in presenter mode, and then you've got it in voice lift mode, or what have you, so you can go back and forth with it. Now, this can be challenging to even well-seasoned integrators. So we're trying to make it easier for people who already do it so they can do it well. So within Cornerstone, you'll see Biamp Presentation Space Designer, and it'll help us navigate that using the real world parameters of the room, so we can see what that's going to look like and work with. And so here are just a couple screenshots from it, so you can kind of see what we're looking at here. Now, physics is a thing, acoustics is a thing. If you've got a really shallow room, this isn't really going to be an application for you. However, if you meet the certain parameters, you certainly can. So here we see, for instance, it shows on the left-hand side, beams are going to be locked in on these spots here, and this is the coverage you'll expect to see for microphone pickup. Note it doesn't pick up the rest of the audience. This is the presenter mode. And then here we see the speakers. Obviously we don't want any feedback, so the speakers are heard at the participants, but not at the presenter, right? So again, we already talked about there needs to be some parameters that you're cognizant of. It needs to be deep enough. It needs to be the microphones need to be at certain heights, certainly. And if the room's awfully reverberant, boy, aren't we going to have some issues. So there's some things to consider here, but we're trying to make that a lot easier for you. This is all available now, and something that we're excited to help you out with. So please reach out to us so we can help you really fine tune and offer some more to your clients. Um, Want to talk to you about our LVH 900. So this loudspeaker here, using software, now allows us to do more coverage from one mounting position, right? So do you want to cover one spot or multiple spots? Use software so that you can cover, balconies and the ground level, right? So there's enhanced venue polar through Ease Focus 3, so that we can really fine tune, and you even kind of see down here, it's a little bit of a challenging graphic here, a little blurry, but you can even see here how we're covering multiple planes of audio from that one speaker or one set of speakers there, right? All right, I talked really fast and furious, and I see a whole bunch of questions coming in here. So I would like to defer to Rob and Vinny to help clarify anything that we can for you all.
Yeah, so Vinny has been responding to all the questions in the Q&A. He's answered a lot of them. So if you guys want to go back through it, feel free to send us any more. I think Vinny's answered quite a few of them. And yes, we will be sending you a copy of the presentation. This will be emailed out to everyone, the YouTube recording and also the PowerPoint. That will be done. Terrence, I think you would like to know, we did get an entrant for the name of the robot that you asked. They wanted to be either BIMO or AMPI.
I love it. I love them
So
both.
that's a good one there. Or Echo. Scott thinks it should be Echo. So any other questions we have? We still have a few minutes. Feel free to send those in again. We do have one. All right. So Vinny, this is for you. So Ben wants to know, what about AV room controls on the Touch 10 that are for stuff other than the UCX MTR? Is that template in Workplace, etc.?
So currently, workplace control is only supported on a Forte X. We've already seen documentation saying that it will be supported on the UCX as well. So at a future time, you'll be able to run our Biamp control on Devio UCX. So that, and we will integrate into the MTR or Zoom room.
Right. Right now, I'm not seeing any other questions. And I think we had a couple questions that were submitted ahead of time that those were also answered as well. So again, I think Terrence has just put our everyone's contact information on that. Oh, Mike has a question. Is the Beamformer single channel AEX on the X400?
The beamformer meaning. Oh,
AEC.
AEC.
See,
So are we
sorry.
talking about the BMA 360? If we're talking about the BMA 360D, it's configurable. So you can do up to 12 lobes, so you can get up to 12 individual channels out, or there is also a mix out. So, you have a choice of depending on how you're deploying it is going to, impact how many AEC channels you need. But in a simple room, no matter how many lobes you're using, we could use the mix out and use a single channel.
Great. Again, Terrence just put up everyone's contact information, whatever region you're in. There are all the sales managers across the Northeast. We have inside sales, Vinny and Terrence doing our field sales engineering and installs. And Mike wants to know, is this compatible with launch?
Absolutely. So if you're using so when it comes to a Forte X connected, the Forte X could be running launch or custom programmed. But if you're using the Devio expanders along with a bar, it runs its own launch and actually brings them together as one system. So we actually integrate the bar, microphone, and speakers with the other peripherals, and we actually don't use launch in the bar, right? It's actually done on the Devio UCX.
Is there an application diagram for this available?
Yes, Terrence had that nice comparison chart of our stuff and theirs, so that will be in the presentation.
Perfect. Give just another minute, see if anyone else has any other questions. If not, we'll give everyone their time. Let's see here. Smart controller is what someone thinks the robot name should be. I like that. As
I'm
all
gonna go
AI
with
seems to be
I'm gonna
controlling
go with
everything.
Blamp because so
Blamp.
many people read the Biamp name as Blamp. We should just name him Blamp.
I like that. I like that.
Also, this is a ton of information, everybody. We're always happy to do deeper dives on any of this. So please, please don't be bashful. It's what we're here for. We're happy to do it. We're excited about this.
Yeah, we had a very good InfoComm this year with Biamp. So there are a lot of products, a lot of good things happening. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And, if any one of, it's hard to pinpoint to somebody, a lot of people don't care about LVH. But if you're a large venue guy, you're like, wow, that's amazing. So if one of these things piqued your interest and you want to do a deeper dive, reach out to your RSMs or Terrence and I, and we'll set it up. And we're absolutely happy to do it.
All right, everyone. Well, seeing no more questions, again, we will send this out this week. Recording, we'll get the PowerPoint. All the information is here. And thank you, everyone, for supporting Biamp. And everyone, have a great day.
Thanks,
Take care,
everyone.
everybody. Thank you.